Start recording. So we will. Today we're honored to have the fantastic Charles Wilson on here, who I'll let him share a little bit of his video experience and background. But he has prepared a beautiful overview of utilizing video in for the real estate space, and we'll probably go between around 45 minutes today, and like I said, it'll be recorded. We're glad you're all here live, and take it away, Charles.
All right, I can do that. Thank you so much, Teddy. Appreciate that. Again, I'm Charles Wilson. I've been at Village for a little over a year now. Got my first listing last week, only to have coronavirus hit, but that's all good. Thank you, Rekha. So I guess a little about my background. I went to the University of Alabama, where I got my communications degree in documentary filmmaking, before going over to London in order to do an internship with Big Talk Production, who made movies like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. Then after that, I worked in the modeling fashion industry for about 10 years. So I've worked on and around cameras and on sets for quite a while. So I know a little bit about videography, and I'm gonna try and give you guys an abbreviated sort of catch up on things you might need to kind of take your videoing up a notch. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I guess first things first, the most important things you guys are going to need are your phone, a microphone, which is good for helping cut out noise. You're going to need a gimbal like the one I'm holding now, and also you're going to need, most likely, a lens. This is just a simple one I have. I'll show it a little bit more in depth as we continue. So here's my first Zoom, guys. So I'm a little bit new to it, so bear with me as I'm going through it. I guess, all right, so first things first, your camera. I assume most of you have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone 11, that's really, really great, because unlike me, I've got a 10S, and anything 11s are basically the newest form. They all have the wide angle lenses. And if you have a wide angle lens on your phone, you will not need to purchase a wide angle lens to attach to it, which is nice. So I believe also, I forget which Samsung, I think the Galaxy 10S, or can't remember, I don't use Samsung, but those also have wide angle lenses. So let's start there. Also, the new iPhones, they come with built-in stabilization, as do the new Samsung phones, which is really great, which makes the point of getting a gimbal or a steady shot like that not irrelevant, but it'll make your pictures that much better. So if you don't have an iPhone 11 and you could possibly afford to get one, I would definitely suggest you get one, just for the ease of not having to get a few extra bits and pieces. I also suggest iPhones, just because Apple products in general are designed for beautiful thing and producing beautiful content, and it's more of an artist sort of device as it is, Microsoft, is much more business focused. So if you can, I would suggest getting the iPhone, just because it's easy to transition and airdrop things to and from your MacBook, and editing and stuff like that's a lot easier with Macs. It's a little bit more intuitive. Pull up my Zoom again real quick. So first thing first we'll talk about is a gimbal. This is a gimbal. All a gimbal is a steady shot. You attach your phone to your gimbal and you turn it on, and eventually it balances itself out. And as you can see, it becomes very smooth. Basically, this is a steady shot. This is the most important piece you're probably going to buy. Like I was saying before, new Apple phones and new Samsungs are built in with stabilization, which takes away a lot of the bounce you used to see when you were recording, a lot of the shake. They do a really good job, but I would still suggest getting a gimbal like this one. This is the Zhiyun, I think the Zhiyun 4. It's around $100. There's also another brand, I think it's the DJI Osmo. And I guess the main difference between the DJI and the Zhiyun, This is the Z-Hune, and unfortunately, I got this one before I got the DJI. The DJI is a little bit better because with the wide-angle lens, sometimes when you're filming, you'll catch a little bit of the build of the gimbal itself when shooting in the wide format like that. So if I did have to suggest, I would say not getting the Z-Hune and maybe going for the DJI Osmo. That's DJI OSMO. Both of these gimbals are around $100. There's plenty more that are like $700, $800 up to $1,000. But for you guys and what you'll be doing, I would suggest getting the Z-Hune or the DJI Osmo. I mean, having said that, I love this. This thing is amazing. You have to charge them. They are electronic and mechanical, so all of this balancing, usually in professional film and photography, there'll be counterweights on this, and it's a lot more technical. But for stuff like you're going to be doing, purchasing these electronic mechanical ones it's amazing, and it really is. I'll show some video later of some footage I literally took 10 minutes before coming in here, just to kind of give you an idea of what it means. And mostly you want to have those smooth shots here. Let's try the screen share so I can pull up an example video. Sorry about that, guys. Screen share, let's turn that on. All right.
On the chat box, Charles, I just put in the little chat thing, I just sent a link to the DJI website. So they have that.
Thank you. Yeah, DJI, and again, the Z-Hune or the DJI Osmo, they're both fantastic gimbals. They both work really well. Again, the DJI are probably better because if you're shooting real estate, you're going to want to shoot. You pretty much have to shoot in the wide angle lens because the spaces are just too tight for you to shoot on your standard lens. So yeah, I would definitely suggest the DJI. And this is just a real quick example to show you guys basically the difference between shooting with and without one. As you can see, most cameras now will be a lot more stable than these shots are anyway, but you'll see in a second. Just a quick side-by-side as well. As you can see, it's night and day. Sorry about that, and that music there. So yeah, as you can see, it's night and day. Using these gimbals is really, really important specifically for that, because as you walk through a home, the more it shakes, the more it vibrates, the less people are going to want to watch it. Sorry about that. The more it shakes, the more it vibrates, the less people are going to want to watch it, the less interesting, the less cinematic it is. And if we're doing, depending on what you're doing, if you're filming something and you really want it to be used for advertising, say for your Facebook or your Instagram boosted posts, if you guys want to pay for that, absolutely it's required. And but if you're doing content for, say, just quick social media things, just for yourself, just to put up little blurbs, I would still suggest getting it. It's not as important, but it's pretty much almost required, just because it just makes it look so much better to the human eye to watch something that's still like that. Also, if you're filming, people like to think that, 30 FPS or 60 FPS, which is frames per second, they always think that the higher frames per second, the better. However, if you're filming and you want it to look more cinematic, you're going to want to shoot at 24 frames per second. Now, with phones, it could be maybe a little worse, but I would still suggest shooting in 24 frames per second. It looks a lot more appealing to the human eye to shoot like that than it does to shoot in 30 or 60. Now, if you're shooting in slow motion, 60 frames is perfect because you are going to want to slow it down to something that's more appealing to the human eye.
Is that something you can change on a setting on your phone?
So when you get like the Z-Hune right here, I really like it. I'm not sure about DJI's app. The Z-Hune app, because when you're filming on it, you're going to have to download the app, get into the app to do the recording, and you're going to record in the app. But in the app, you can change your frames per second up to, I think it is up to 60 in Z-Hune, and it's down to, you can do down below 24. But again, shooting at 24 is like ideal and perfect, and really gives you the best, most interesting look to your filming when you're doing that. So I would that's another thing I forgot to mention. You will have to probably download apps with both of them, but they're very easy to use, very intuitive. Getting them connected may take a minute, but it's totally worth it. The Zhune doesn't really work that well outside of the app. It still works. You can still record just like you normally would straight to your phone if you don't want to download all of your videos to some foreign country's domain, because I'm sure that this in some way or another gets copied somewhere. Having said that, like I said, you can record it directly to your phone. It's just not as easy, and you have to push on the screen, whereas on this, there's record button, there's zoom knob here, as well as focus knob, so you can change and do that stuff all directly on the Zhune handle. Whereas if you don't use the app, you won't be able to use all these features that are included on the handles of both of these devices.
Do those talk to your phone via Bluetooth?
Yes, they connect via Bluetooth. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's just like using any other app. If you use Instagram, you can download it back onto your phone, which is what I do with every one of mine. And then I immediately delete them off of the Zhune app just to make it a little bit cleaner and easier, because you'll forget to, and you'll go to like find a video and you're like, oh, I can't find it. And it's in the app still. So you just got to drag and drop it over. So after your, let me see here. Am I still on screen share? No, okay. So after you use, if you want to pick up one of those, the next thing you'll probably want to look at is if you don't have a wide angle lens on your camera, you're definitely going to want to purchase one. I got this one right here. It's called the Pocket Lens. It's a very simple one. Comes with a simple cap. Very straightforward. It unscrews, so if you really want to shoot macro as well, if there's like a pretty flower or something out there, you can unscrew the lens and it becomes a macro lens. The reason I chose this one is I found it to be the lightest one out there. And the reason I chose the lightest one out there was because your gimbal's balance. And when you're trying to balance your gimbal, you want to put the lightest thing possible on this side of your apparatus to make. The more stuff you add on, the harder your motor's going to work, and the harder your motors work, the quicker your motors are going to run out. So I'll put a link into a few more lenses as well. Again, I picked this one. It was just happened to be one I liked. I saw it was only about $10. But these are definitely, you're definitely going to have to get one if you plan on filming real estate and you don't have a wide angle lens built into your camera. Because again, like if you're trying to film real estate without a wide angle lens, like my house, for instance, is 750 square feet. If you try to film my house without a wide angle lens, there's not a lot you're going to see when you're walking through. So definitely invest in one of these. Doesn't have to be this one. Samsung, iPhone, they all have customized ones that can be snapped on or popped on really easy. This one just uses pressure, as you can tell, just uses pressure on the back and squeezes it on. It's not a perfect fit. So if you want to spend an extra $5 or $10 and get something that fits on a little more snugly, I definitely suggest it. With the wide angle lens though, you will notice on the edges of the frames, let me see if I can, on the edges of the frames, things will start to bend. And that's just the fisheye effect basically, because it's just something that happens, unfortunately. You can correct it in video editing software if you have that kind of video editing software. It's not too much of a distraction though, I found when I was doing my filming. It just, occasionally as you scroll past something, you'll see a slight bow to it. And as it comes more into the center of the frame, you can see clearly that it's a straight line. It's just it's just a trick sometimes that the wide angle lens will sort of play on you from time to time. But it's still much better than not having a wide angle lens on your camera. Also, the last thing you definitely need to get is microphones. Let's see. So I bought it's called Purple Panda. It's a pretty nice little starter package. They're around $25. It comes with your standard lavalier mic. This is a lavalier mic. Lavalier mics are mics that clip to your lapel or your collar and stay there. You want to make sure this is pointed as much at your mouth as possible. Over it is the little sound guard. The reason I purchased the Purple Panda was because it came with, also if you're ever filming outside, this is a fuzzy windbreaker. basically goes around your mic and kills all wind sound if you're outside recording. These are important because every single home usually has an air conditioner or refrigerator, maybe a TV, even the air conditioning unit, the hot water heater, all that stuff. Anything electric has a hum to it. And even though sometimes you don't hear it, you kind of naturally block it out with your ears. As soon, if I were to plug this in now, you could tell an immediate difference of me speaking into the microphone versus me just speaking into the onboard mic of anything. The onboard mics are, you never want to use an onboard mic. So I would definitely say you have to get a gimbal to stabilize, a lens to give you some wider angle shot, and a microphone to kill any sounds. Now, if you're the kind of person that hates the sound of your own voice, I do as well, I probably won't be watching this back. You may not need a microphone because you may want to just put music around your edits, and that's totally fine. Like, I know a lot of people that do that. To be honest, people can read the information, and having music playing when you're looking at a video is much more appealing than hearing somebody talk the whole time. So even if you want to speak during your walkthrough, just have some light music sort of playing in the background. There's a lot of not royalty free, free public domain websites you can access in order to find some generic elevator type music to just kind of play in the background. And even if it's elevator music, it makes your films that much more easy to watch. It's night and day. Also, I guess a quick couple of notes. When you buy these gimbals, for instance, I'll just go ahead and show you mine. You'll notice I don't have my case on my gimbal currently. They're not very easy to install when you have your cases on. And also, this is a small splitter I have, which basically allows you to both, one side is a headphone jack, the other side is the power jack. The reason I have this kind of splitter is because as you plug in your phone into the gimbal, there you go. As you can see there, it allows you to have your microphone plugged in, so you can actually still use your microphone and gimbal at the same time, while also, if you need to, charging your phone, which if you're charging your phone, walking around and using your mic on your gimbal, you're a pretty impressive person. I want to know how you did that. So yeah, let's go into a few more. I'll go into a few more examples to show you guys real quick, just to give you kind of a better idea of why you want to use some of this stuff. Pull up my Word document here. All right, go into screen share real quick. Sorry about that, guys. Now, so this is a video basically showing you guys the importance of having a wide angle lens. To a place where we don't know. As you can see, you just capture so much more footage. And as you can see on theirs as well, there's not any bend. They clearly have been using like editing software to, as you can see, the trees aren't bending on the edges of the frame. That's, again, that's not really that big a deal. It doesn't really matter for what you guys are doing. The point of this is to show you the importance of having a wide angle lens when shooting anything real estate related, because these may be exteriors, but even in the exteriors, you can tell the difference and see how much more footage you can capture from the wide angle lens versus, you know, your standard onboard lens. And roughly, you usually get somewhere between 20 to 30, 35% more coverage, more actual space on the shot than you do with your standard onboard lens, which is again the reason you wanna go for something that's got a wide angle, just because it really does change the actual views of your shot. It really makes it so much better, so much easier to watch, and you just capture more. I mean, you know, because if you walk into a home and you try to film the living room with a standard phone, you're going to miss not just the floor, but probably about, you know, the top 30% of the room itself, just simply because you just don't have the room to capture it all. So absolutely make sure you have your wide angle lens. Some of the other things again as well, I forgot to mention, Purple Panda comes with an extra extendable lavalier mic. So if you have somebody who films you as you're walking through, this is a 10-foot extension. So you can easily walk through and film with your lavalier mic without having to, sacrifice any distance or anything like that. This is definitely worth the 20 or 25 or so dollars. It's also really easy because you can pack it up really quick. You can put everything in there, including my lens. So I have my lens and all of my microphone stuff in one bag. Zhun, this is the same with the DJI. It's a small, simple thing. Also, if you want to do still shots where you're filming yourself, they come with small tripods as well that go on the bottom. Again, not so much something you really need, but who knows, maybe you want to just add it onto the bottom to give yourself a little bit more height when you're filming. Very, very nice little addition. They also, as well, just going through that, they charge, you got to charge them, keep them charged, probably about an hour or so to get them fully charged up. And you get a couple hours of good filming out of them. As they start to wear down, the camera itself will get a lot more jerky, a lot less smooth. But yeah, let me see if I have another couple of examples for you guys. Oh, here we go, one more. And so this is basically, sorry, show you guys, this is how the difference between using your onboard mic versus using,
Okay. Hi, welcome back to my channel.
So this is an example of like not using your microphone if you can hear her.
Really well, and I was just super far away. So let me plug this back in and we can resume. I wanted to.
So basically what's happening here is you can literally hear the echo of her just being in the room, bouncing all over the place. And this is a perfect example of why you want your lav mic. Lav mics, I mean, for the $10 or $15 you're gonna spend on them are gonna take your professional quality of your videos and films up so much. It really is important to get those mics on there if you plan on doing speaking, just because it's night and day.
Of my camera. I have a different lens on, that's why I'm so close up to the camera. I don't want to change my lens, but I wanted to show you how my audio sounds when I'm really close to the camera. And as you can see, my audio sounds really good and it works for Nikons and Canons. I don't know if they would work for the Sony cameras because I know a lot of people use Sony. So Sony, I don't know what people call it. And
Anyway, that was again another example just to kind of show you guys the difference in the sound quality. When she was speaking, without the mic plugged in, you could hear everything bouncing around the walls. I guess I could do it for a quick second. Plug mine in, and now this is the difference in the sound quality when you have a microphone. I'm sure we'll listen back to this and kind of see the difference, but it really does make a difference in the clarity in your voice and picking up only your voice. Because like I said, there's so much electronic stuff humming around you that you don't realize until you go back and rewatch footage. Air conditioning units are the biggest culprits in this. You think everything sounds fine because you've been in a room. And then you go back to look at your footage later and it sounds like you're in a wind turbine. So absolutely get a mic. Mics make a huge difference, especially if you're outside, just cutting down on the wind and cutting around on that electronic kind of hum that sort of comes along when you're doing that sort of work. Let's see. Oh, also I have some examples of some good apps you guys could probably use to help you with your, when you're filming. The first one, let me get back up here to my list. Zoom, obviously Zoom is great. This is good for, your walkthroughs if you have clients right now, especially considering all the dangers with coronavirus at the moment. A lot of people aren't gonna wanna meet up. So Zoom obviously is great for those meetings. Facebook and Instagram Live, they're both fun, easy to use, straightforward things through the websites themselves. And, that's good for your advertising and, staying in touch with clients. Another app you may be interested in would be Periscope. I love Periscope just because if there's anything interesting like a music venue or a concert that I can't go to, usually somebody in the crowd will pull up their Periscope app and start filming. And basically it just creates a live broadcast to the entire world. And you can save those broadcasts for people to come back and look at later. So Periscope is more, it's useful, but it's more fun for those kind of events that are sort of once in a lifetime, but also it could be used for broadcasting even your own listings, maybe to people, and just get, you know, a few more eyes on your property. Live stream is a great app as well. It allows for both horizontal and vertical filming. Sometimes apps won't let you do one or the other. This is good for that. It connects to Facebook Live, but it also broadcasts live, just like Periscope. So it's sort of a combination of those things where you can broadcast to everybody, but also invite specific people sort of to watch it, who you want to actually see it. When it comes to editing, there's 3 editing softwares for phones that I'm going to mention. The first one is Quick. It's GoPro's editing software. The reason I really suggest this one first is it has built-in editing, so you can do a quick edit button that'll allow you to go, it'll go through and basically put your shots of the home together for you into the certain amount of time you want it to be. And it's technology doing it, so it's not going to be perfect, but if you're just wanting to do something as quick as possible and push content out onto your website, your Facebook or whatever, Quick is really good for that. Boom, 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 go through, film everything, throw it into the Quick app, and it'll help edit it down for you. It's really, really good app. It's also free, I think, for the most part. I have to double check. If you want something that's a little bit better and allows you to actually edit it yourself, the next app I suggest is Adobe Premiere Clip. Again, it's great if you want to do a little bit more of those manual touches. It doesn't have a whole lot of features for editing, but it does allow you to edit your content like your way, as opposed to having somebody or having technology edit it for you, which I find to be extremely useful if you're somebody who likes to do that. Now, again, Quick, if you want to have someone do it for you, Quick is great. If you like to have a little more control, Adobe Premiere Clip. Also, another one, InShot. The only drawback to InShot is that it costs $2.99 to remove the watermark. If you go with InShot, you absolutely have to pay the $2.99 because nothing is less professional or unfortunate looking than posting stuff that has a watermark all over it. And also, it's just really distracting because people are like, why does your video have a watermark this whole time? It also makes it look like you're stealing it. So if you do get InShot, make sure and just pay the $2.99 to get rid of the watermark.
Is that the letter N, like N as in Nancy, S-H-O-T?
I think it's IN-SHOT. I think. I'll at the end of this, I'll make sure and bring up all the links and everything for all of these apps, all these products. So that way, if you guys are interested in any of them in particular, you can get directly linked to those. But I'll do all that for you guys to make sure we're all on the same page with the right things, because there are always things like you're saying. There's one that's just the letter N and then shot, and then there's one that's like EN and then shot. So
I just put it's just inshot.com. I put the link to that in the chat box.
Perfect. Thank you, Zach. Also with InShot, this is better, I guess, more for your advertising, for real like advertising you're trying to do, as opposed to just like simple content. For your Facebook, i.e. like walkthroughs or showings, things of that nature. When it comes to actually working with the camera, when you're shooting, you're going to want to try and keep your camera height roughly where your eye height is, so somewhere between 5 to 6 feet. Just natural, people understand and can visualize themselves a lot better in a film when it's at that height. You want it to be parallel or like maybe slightly tilted down. Again, this is just because of that natural perspective that humans have. When it comes to mics, again, like I said, lavalier mics, these are, you don't want to try a boom mic or some sort of onboard mic attachment for your phone. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Lav mics are easy, cheap, and will do everything you need for what you guys are doing. And if you're trying to do more than that, then you probably should just hire professional videographers to help you, because yeah, when you're getting into that sort of area, you're really starting to make proper professional content, as opposed to, small advertising content that we may be doing for listings or Facebook posts of that nature, or Instagram live sort of things. Because it's just, if you're getting to that point, you're going to be spending that much money, you might as well have professionals who really know what they're doing, really help you, and really help you create, really, really professional shots. So if you're wanting to do more than that, I would suggest talking to people who are more in the business, more experienced with those kind of actual shoots, because that'll also help you set up and walk you through everything holding your hand, as opposed to you trying to figure everything out yourself.
What if you talk a little bit about from a standpoint of like, I mean, I think everybody, you know, people know, okay, I should be doing video. It sounds all good and well until you actually go to try it. And then you're just like panicking because I don't know what to say. I don't even know how to start. Like, how does length of things, like, what
Yes.
is engaging, and what do you, how do you get yourself to get off the fear factor and just like start?
So I guess we'll start, I guess, lengthwise. If you're doing posts online, if it's just simple walkthrough and you're showing, and you're just trying to stay engaged with people on either Facebook or Instagram, try and keep that under 2 minutes. Most people aren't going to watch too much after that, especially if it's one long shot. If it's one long shot of you walking through the home and there's no editing and there's no transition sort of in the, you know, you start out front and you can go inside and go to every room of the house and then back outside or out the back or into the garage or wherever it takes you. You want to keep that under 2 minutes. If you're using it for advertisement purposes and you're paying to boost it and stuff like that, try and keep it under 30 seconds and definitely have transitions in there. So that way it's not one long shot of you walking through the entire home. You know, you can transition from, first shot is always the establishing shot of the home itself from the outside, you know, maybe looking at a tree, and then tilting into the shot of the home itself, just to establish, because you always want to show people exactly where you are and where you're starting from. So that way they have a good idea, can wrap their mind around what they're seeing once you take them sort of inside and show them the guts of the house. And on that, you'll want to keep those shots like shorter, maybe just like 3 to 5 seconds from every room, you know, slow panning, tilting down to panning up, that sort of thing. And then add, I always suggest either the only transitions I would use are fades, like fade from white, like at the beginning, like if you're looking up at the sun, and then fade white into tilt down to sort of establish that shot. Or at the end, if you want to fade into black, say you tilt, like you point your camera as you're finishing up down towards the ground, towards something dark, and then dissolve that into just complete blackness. Those are the two things, fades. Sorry, I said dissolves. I shouldn't have said that. Dissolves are good to transition from like room to room. So you're starting in the kitchen and then it dissolves and then reappears as the living room, which dissolves and then reappears into one of the bedrooms, which then to another and the next. I would be careful using things like wipes. A lot of your basic movie editor app, like you have on your phone, they'll have like something like 15 to 20 different kinds of transitions. And you'll want to stay away from most of them, because a lot of them are just sort of cartoony and sort of unprofessional. Now, I'm going to link in as well some good videos that help you with editing and transitioning, because we could spend 2 hours just talking about only transitions alone. Transitioning is is an art form, basically. And if you figure out all the different tricks to transitioning, you're 80% of the way there, because transitions really affect how you stitch your shots together. But again, if you use dissolves are so easy. Dissolves literally they make everything easy. It's very easy on your eyes. Most people appreciate it. And there's not like, you know, the big screen wipes like this or the big screen wipes all the way down, which that stuff can be really distracting. Where dissolves, and there's another kind, I forgot off the top of my head what the other transition is, but you'll want to stick to fades at the beginning and the end and just simple dissolves in between to sort of make your things look more professional.
And I'm going to suggest that we will do what I guess we'll call video 2.0 class for those after they get over that hurdle that I think Zach is sharing, is sort of just the basics of where to start. Because I know even though there are agents that have done video, there is a greater majority that have not. And they're, you know, quite self-conscious about how they sound. I can't stand my voice on video. The best thing is, I think it's Zach had shared and most will, is don't ever watch it. Like, just don't watch it, and it's really progress over perfection. Just hit record.
Yep.
And, you know, just like YouTube and stupid cat videos, the world's watching. You'll see these videos on Facebook that people do, and you'll go, like how many people watch that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so all right, we see what Chris is down to. But so yeah, I think that's just great advice. Is just hit record, just get your first one going. You know, start with if you don't need to go all in with a YouTube channel, and just get a Facebook Live going, or just take a video on your phone. And I think the most important thing to start off is limiting the time. The length is where people, I think, really miss the boat. Nobody cares about secondary bedrooms or, you know, maybe the laundry room, unless you're doing a tour to sell the house to prospects. So I would be putting these links into MLS, but if you're just doing a promo, you know, take it from outside of the house into the house and tell them your 5 favorite things about this house.
Definitely. That's really good advice. Keeping it, brevity is very important nowadays. Nobody seems to have an attention span, me included. But yeah, he's absolutely right. Because there's so many times I've seen, you know, a 2-minute video, and then you go into the third bedroom that's only 10 by 10 and has maybe a 5-foot long closet that's only like 3 feet deep and 1 window. And sure, it's important if you want to see that. Again, if you're prospective buyers, you want to take them through every single part of the house. But if you're making like, the sleeker and quicker it is, the better it is. So, you know, having only maybe 8 to 10 actual shots inside the house, actual like 3 to 5 second shots, is probably the best thing you're going to do. Because if you do 10 shots and they're all 3 seconds each, that's 30 seconds. And that's enough for most people to digest and not click away or go look at something else. That brevity is really, really important with those things. First though, obviously, like Teddy's saying, get a camera, go record, move and have fun with your camera. That's the best thing about cameras is I have, with the gimbal, I've got my monopod. Now this monopod is an Amazon basic monopod. It just screws right into the bottom of your gimbal. And by having this, I literally add 10 feet. So essentially I can, and it's incredible because I took my phone out earlier. You can literally do what are called crane shots in the industry. Let me pull this up and see if I have it here for you guys real quick.
And I just sent out a little link. I think there was when you were talking about transitions versus, I guess, like camera movements.
Yes.
I think I sent out a little link in the chat box that helps talk about camera movements in terms of things like, you know, coming out from behind something. You can do little things right at the time of shooting, like what you're talking about with the monopod, that just make things just a little bit more interesting and look a little bit more professional. So check out that link in the chat box.
Absolutely. Movement in shots is important when you're filming, especially in real estate, because nothing else is moving. So if you just have a static shot, it's going to be boring as hell. That's why we have the gimbal. The gimbal allows you to make those really smooth maneuvers without any of the bump, without any of the looking like I'm doing this with my phone at somebody's house. This makes it look like you shot with like a 5D or some sort of Canon. It makes it look like you're shooting with professional equipment as opposed to just shooting with your iPhone. So again, like transitions versus movement, we can definitely go over that a little bit at the end. I just want to show you guys sort of some of the stuff. Now, this is me just messing around literally 10 minutes ago. And because I have this giant, this monopod that I have connected, I can now, you can literally with your monopod now go around and literally film inside your gutters. But you can go from shooting extremely low to quick transitions high. Now, in this film, like in this bit here, it looks sort of slow, but as you go into edit things, if you become really good at editing, you can speed that up so that those first 5 seconds are only 1 second. And then you slow everything down as you get to the more open shots of the entire home. So again, this is me holding a monopod that's about 5 feet long, which the longer the monopod is, the less stable your shot is going to be. And even with that extra 5 feet, look how smooth and stable like these shots are. Like this is, when I first got this, you had no idea how excited I was just to see the actual quality and smoothness of these. There's $100 for this, and I can almost shoot at a cinematic level, which is, I mean, it's a complete game changer. Like here's the transition wipe right there. That's where you could use a wipe from left to right. So instead of, so right here, you could transition, have a wipe here following the tree and then be inside as opposed to just having a normal sort of transition. And that's what Zach was talking about earlier when he was talking about moving the camera. So for instance, right here, as I walk past my tree, I could very easily transition from being right here at the tree to this shot now on the left where you see my siding and the guttering. You can install a wipe here and the wipe will follow the tree across the screen, and instead of being this shot here, which is the outside of my house, it'll be, say, the frame of the door going into the front of the house. So you can easily wipe, use a transition wipe there, and then instead of seeing the outside, be inside the house looking at the living room.
There's a question regarding the lighting, and what sort of lighting do you use? For any home tours? Like we can certainly speak. I'd like to wrap this with talking about your in-home cameras for Zoom and stuff, and I've got some things I'll share on that as well, and we can open that up because that's such a critical part of what we're all doing right now. But are you using any lighting for interior on the home or suggestions there?
So first suggestion would be as soon as you get into the home, turn on all the lights. Turn off everything electronic that you don't need. So like obviously you can't unplug the refrigerator or anything like that, but turn off the air conditioning, unplug computers. If you can't, anything that's plugged in, you could unplug without messing up your clients or the person's home. Absolutely do that because that'll help with the feedback and the noise. I personally don't bring lights because shooting with this, you can go in and edit, and also you can edit it, but your phones will usually, nowadays, especially the iPhone 10 and the iPhones 11s, they have very good f-stops and irises, so they're able to read the room and adjust accordingly. Now, granted, I know there's a lot of people that really like film and photography that hate that don't want that manual sort of aspect to it, but for what we're doing, the whole point of this is for it to be easy. Like you just want to have your gimbal, which is a necessary, and maybe your lens. If you have an iPhone 11, the only thing you really need is this gimbal. That's really the only thing you need because you don't need a mic if you're not gonna want to hear your voice, and you're not gonna need a lens because you already have your wide angle lens on your camera itself. So you could literally very easily just buy a gimbal and start producing like high quality video for people to see.
Yep.
But yeah, I would just use if you're filming, especially because you're using natural light, try not to go anywhere on a rainy, cloudy day. Today's actually a perfect day, minus all the restrictions. But if you turn on all the lights and open up all the windows so as much light is pouring into the house as possible, you shouldn't really be dragging lights around. To be honest, you don't want to be dragging any sort of lights around unless you know or have some really great light producing piece of equipment I've never heard of. I mean, sure, bring that, but yeah, don't worry so much about lights because that's a little bit more professional than what we're really trying to accomplish here. Which we could say that again for the next 2.0 class.
Excellent.
Was there anything?
Go ahead. Other questions I know we had on lighting. There was another question about if InShot or if one of the other editing softwares was better than taking clips and editing in iMovie.
So iMovie is actually pretty good. To be honest, it's really good for being a free app through Apple and having everything connected. Doing it on your phone is always sort of a pain in the ass just because you're using your fingers and you're dragging and you're resizing clips, and it's just a little bit easier if you download it and put it onto your actual laptop itself, just for the sake of, I mean, it's like using RealTracks. You can use RealTracks on your phone, but it's not nearly as good or as useful as using RealTracks on your desktop or your laptop. It's just night and day. And sometimes you need a mouse in order to get those really finite details to really get them perfect. Because if you're going to that level, you're definitely going to want to use it on a desktop because you're really going to want to be as precise as possible. Now with something like Quick Premiere and oh, crap, I just forgot the name of the other one. Quick Premiere and Quick and Adobe Premiere Clip. Sorry, I mixed those two together. Quick is really good. I would really suggest a lot of people try that and start with that, because just for the simplicity of it, it'll do it for you. It'll do a solid job, and you can still go in and like adjust the clips a little bit here and there before you finish and publicize it. So I think maybe starting with Quick would be a good idea for everybody. And then as you sort of learn that, getting into something like Adobe Premiere Clip or, because there's tons of editing software out there that's really, really good. But I would suggest starting with something that'll clip and reshape things for you, because as they do that, they'll do things that are really bad, but they'll also do things that are really good. You'll be like, whoa, I really like the way that looked when I'm doing this slight movement to the left and it dissolves into the new room. You know, you'll see things like that as you start looking through that sort of edited film. And as you see those things, you'll then get an idea in your mind of what you like and how you like it to look. And then once you get to that level, after you've done, say, 10, 20 different little videos like that, you'll get to the point where you're like, I don't want Quick to edit my footage. I want to edit my footage because I know what I like and I know what I think looks good. And you can do it. And again, with the iMovie is like really quick. The Apple stuff is really quick. It's really easy to use. It doesn't have all the features to adjust, like you're saying with the lights. Say the light's a little dark. Sometimes it's not as easy to adjust those things. But it's still really, really good software for being free and being on your phone pretty much already.
Here's the favorite software I like. I know you just got your first listing. Are you available to edit people's videos for fee?
I could be. I have to see. I currently have to double check because my wife and I just got a new laptop about 2 months ago. We had a little bit of a water incident, so I don't have all of my software completely downloaded back onto it yet, but absolutely. And I love doing it. Editing's a lot of fun. The only problem with that is you end up stuck in a basement for hours on end, eating food out of a vending machine and coming and going when it's dark, which, again, like I said, I
like things are right now.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, good point. I guess it wouldn't be that much different. But yeah, absolutely. And it's and also there's a lot of good there's a lot of right now, especially if you know anybody who's in film or photography, they're not doing anything. I'm telling you, they are not doing anything. So if you know anybody that's like that and you have listings or you have something that you want people to walk through and you don't want to go yourself, call photographers, set up your viewings, and then just go let them in and then like stay outside. So there's no interaction. They can go through and film for you, but also, and if you don't want to do that, you can send them footage and they can edit it for you. There's a lot of people right now in photography, film, editing that are out of work because everything's pretty much come to a complete standstill when it comes to fashion, photography, and film. So yeah, if you know any of those people, definitely reach out to them and talk to them because they'll be looking for work right now, and they can do all this. You can do all of this stuff without any interaction, which makes it that much more better. Jesus, my English not so good today.
Any other questions? I was going to share a couple of points regarding we wrap up here. I know we're going to take the full hour here, but a couple of quick points that I wanted to share regarding video in your home. And I wouldn't say that I'm acing it here today, by the way, but I want to explain what I've heard and seen as far as some best practices in using Zoom. You're basically video conferencing. So we're starting to use Zoom like we say Xerox and Kleenex, right? That is a brand. So don't assume and maybe make that distinction. If somebody says we're going to do a Zoom, it may be on a different platform. And there are other great platforms as well. But there was a question about lighting too, and especially home lighting. Don't film yourself standing in front of a window. The way metering works, you'll just look like a silhouette or a black blob. There you go. Virginia will show us how that looks. So you see people on that, and you really are going to learn a lot just by being on these and seeing people. But if you want to light at home, these ring lights are really good. I moved not long ago, and I can't find the other end of this as I pulled this out today. But cheap. $50 to $75 on Amazon, and these have an adjustable light. But if you see people that look just fantastic, it's that. So that it just makes everybody look beautiful. Also being aware of background noise, what your background is. Again, I didn't really prop this, but it's like just something not distracting or interesting. Try to be aware of not moving around too much. And this isn't a criticism of anybody here today, but we all, as you get into these, you're going to see it. And be mindful that everything is being recorded unless you mute and stop your video. So there's been some snafus that have been publicized of people that have, no naked people walk in the back of their screen or things like that. The other thing I think is important to mention is the difference in a webinar and a Zoom or a video conference. A webinar I would compare to a text. It is a one-way communication. It is meant for you to get on and not be seen and just listen and hear and maybe ask questions. Video conferencing that everyone is doing right now is meant to be an interactive experience. And so as much as many times I don't want to be on camera, and we can see if you look at your gallery view who is on camera and who's not, I'm not saying you should be, but be mindful to that seeing people's faces, it's the difference in a text and a phone call. There's just a different level of relatability and connection in seeing people's face versus seeing a static photo of them, which if you don't have a photo that comes up, you may have seen Zach, update your profile and have at least your headshot or something snazzy or silly of you. So when your video isn't on, we're still seeing a visual of you versus just your name. It's just a suggestion, but I do know that that was described to me by some professionals that do quite a bit of these and wouldn't even allow. I think Brian Copeland said he will not allow you on this unless you are on one of his or several he's done unless your video is not on. And so I was kind of like, oh man, but I did it because I recognized and really saw the difference in the dynamic of that. So those light rings and those virtual backgrounds, and you can get a little phone tripod. Those are really helpful. So anybody else have anything they want to share? I'm gonna everybody can go ahead and if you want, unmute yourself and or I can unmute all. If anybody have any questions that they'd like to, or other suggestions or best practices you'd love to share? I'm going to mute everybody, and then will you, let's see here. I'll have to unmute this host. Okay, so I'm going to mute all, and then if you have a question, would you unmute yourself and go ahead and ask that?
So,
Deborah, are you?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that when I'm doing a video that I'm going to post that has me talking, I use an app called Vlog. It's like vlog, V-L-O-G, and you can put it on a setting where it's called jump cut, and it automatically cuts out any time you're quiet. So you know how you're watching a video and it's like kind of choppy, but it keeps you engaged because it's like there's no dead space. So that's what it does for you automatically. So you literally can record a video, and then, like, let's say you want to present some information, you could have your notes in front of you, and if you lose your place, you can stop talking, look down at your notes, look back, start talking again, and it's going to cut out any of that empty space where you stopped talking, and just like automatically do that for you. So, and then it will also automatically save in 15-second increments if you want to save it as an Instagram story, or you can just save it as one long video. So that's something that's what I use when I do my like little posts on Instagram.
That is awesome. I'm not seeing that vlog. I don't know if that's vlog.com or would you mind posting a link, or if somebody sees it, share it in here? Is it just vlog.com?
Sorry, it's actually called Vlog Easy.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, that sounds fantastic. I love the jump cut situation. That's amazing.
So it's that middle one. It's Vlog Easy is the icon. And then you can also take an iMovie or you can take a video from that over to iMovie,
Put it
and
in.
edit it there. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
they're all together there.
that's the big thing, is like saving time with that sort of stuff, and being able to just put it in and have them just do those jump cuts real quick for you is, yeah, that's a really awesome tool. I would suggest most of you guys pick that up as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Deborah. Do you prefer Deborah or Debbie? Deborah.
Deborah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think, as soon as I said Debbie, I'm like, I've never called her Debbie. Who am I thinking? The other thing is you can change your name on Zoom. So if your name comes up different for some reason, or your username that you put in is not the way you want it to be seen, you can change that in your preferences as well. Awesome. Okay, well, Charles is going to get back to the basement with his food and editing software, and let's all give him a virtual hand here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. We will publish the recording of this in the World Wide Web, and thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you. I'll give you a few updates. We do have coming next week. We will be continuing our of course, stay-at-home video series, and I'm pulling up what we have here. So Menti Monday, 11 o'clock. On Tuesday the 7th, after the sales meeting, we've got a panel on dialogues and language, how to create best connections during this critical time with clients, prospects, and business. And then on Thursday the 9th, we've got another Boomtown class. So we've really tried to boost up the Boomtown during the old stay-at-home. And week after that, we will have after the sale marketing, and we'll have an intensive on, that'll be with Nick Irwin. And then we've got a more in-depth on some CMAs. And hey, now we're talking. Look at Tyler. Bringing the virtual background, the baby in the business, folks.
Baby in the tiger cage.
Distraction.
Yahtzee. Hey, that's the king himself back there. That's the tiger.
Good job. Thank you guys for doing this. It's awesome.
Thanks for coming, man.
We really appreciate it. We hope, tell your friends, and we'd like to see you on here live as well. Of course, seeing the recording's great, but it's always nice to have an interactive and dynamic experience. So thank you all. Any questions, you know where to find us and reach us offline and online, and be well and take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Where do I, this is my first, how do I do it? How do I just end it?
There's a button, roll over your screen, you'll see end meeting.
Leave meeting. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And if anybody has any more questions or anything like that, just, push them through to me.
That sounds good.
C Wilson at villagetn.com for anybody that has any more of those questions.
I'd love for you to post that on the Village exclusive. Great seeing you all on there, and just, throwing yourself out there. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Maybe even showing a link to one of your gimbal movies. That was really cool.
Yeah.
For them to see. I don't know that they understood, putting the gimbal on the monopod, and the fact that when you move that monopod down, that the camera is staying straight ahead. Some people don't understand like how that's really working. And so
it's hard to show people how it works because it's the recording device itself, and someone has to record you with the device. So it's always funny, but my wife has one. I'll get her to follow me around, and we can do some cool stuff like that.
Very cool. I used to have or I still have somewhere in the archives here, is the Smooth.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's like '02 technology compared to what you're rocking.
Man, I'm telling you, get that DJI Osmo, especially because I know you got the new iPhone. So like shooting with that, like I catch the body of mine when I have my wide angle lens on. Sometimes when I turn certain ways, you can see like the edge of the piece of equipment. So getting that and the DJI is really good. It's got a smaller case even. Like it's just that the Z-Hune is a little bit nicer it's really good for Apple products, because the Z-Hune is meant to, like, the software is meant to work with iPhones a lot better than it does with Samsungs.
Yeah. It seems like the Z-Hune, you get some, there's a lot more buttons for people to F up, but there you get a stand with it and some other, Schlotsky shit. Like, let's see here. See if this works. Oh my God. You don't want to be on my Yahtzee. You definitely don't, when you go to screen, whew, daddy-o. See if that's the right one. Oh, there's the interest I paid on a 1098. So that's the wrong screen.
Don't worry, it's only black right now.
Oh, really? That's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see my screen?
No, it still says Teddy has started screen sharing, but it's still black. Oh, hold on. You're viewing Teddy's screen view options. Fit to window. 100%. Huh. Yeah, it's not showing right now. It's just showing black.
Well, it's good I tested that because I don't know what's the issue there. Anyhow, so let's see here. You see it now?
No, not yet.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to click off that. Anyhow, so excellent. Yeah, thank you for all that info. It was really great. I appreciate having the outline. You were organized on time and did great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'd love to do a little bit more, talk some in-depth ones on some of that other stuff if anybody wants to or wants a class like that. I'm sure it'll be a little bit smaller, but.
I think it would be nice if you wanted to even put together, a weekly, if you wanted to do weekly or once a month, you just did a video best practices class that people can jump in on.
Okay.
During this time, being accountable or giving yourself things to do and purpose can grow to other things, man. I was trying to plug you for editing for some side money, side hustle.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. There's a lot of people that are a lot better than me out there that are like really, what I mean? There's so many people.
The same goes for realtors.
There's a lot of people. That's very true.
And me, but people work with people they know, like, and trust. So thank you through third copy.
Thank you for that too. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, have a good rest of the day, Teddy. I'll talk to you soon.
10-4, see you, brother.
Bye.
Bye.